الحمد لله الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد مفتاح باب رحمة الله عدد ما في علم الله صلاة وسلام دائمين بدوام ملك الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Alhamdulillah, the blessed words that we have heard are sufficient indeed. And just to dovetail off of the beautiful things that have been said, I want to just share one quote that's in line with everything that has been said, from the blessed words of the Hakim, to the blessed words of Sheikh Ala, to the blessed words of Amjad. And this tells us about something that you and I should put right before our eyes, take very seriously, and spend our lives focusing on. As we've just heard, everything that happens outwardly, the good and the evil of it, all of it ultimately comes back to the center of the human being, which is nothing other than our heart. And there's an incredibly beautiful quote in book 21 of the Iḥyā Ulūm and the Kitab Sharh Ajaib al-Qalb, the book on the explanation of the wonders of the heart. So in these next few minutes, I just want to share this blessed quote before we stand up to pray Salat al-Maghrib. And he says, رضي الله عنه أما بعد فشرف الإنسان وفضيلته, the honor and excellence of man, التي فاق بها جملة من أصناف الخلق, in which he surpasses all sorts of creatures, all other sorts of creatures. باستعداده لمعرفة الله سبحانه التي هي في الدنيا جماله وكماله. It's his aptitude for knowing Allah. Praise be to him. This knowledge is man's beauty and perfection and glory, and his provision and store for the world to come. He is prepared for this knowledge only through his heart and not by any of his members. He is prepared for this knowledge only through his heart and not by means of any of his members. For it is the heart that knows Allah. It is the heart that draws near to Allah. It is the heart that in reality strives towards Allah. It is the heart that in reality draws near to Him. And it is the heart that experiences unveilings from the presence of Allah. The members of the body, yani the limbs, on the other hand, are merely followers, servants, and instruments that the heart uses and employs as the king uses his slave, as the shepherd makes use of his flock, or as the craftsman uses his tool. For it is the heart that is accepted by Allah when it is free from all save Him, but veiled from Allah when it becomes wholly occupied with anything other than Him. It is upon the heart that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is at the level of the heart that Allah ta'ala takes us to count. This is where He addresses us, and that this is the source of why we are rebuked. And it is in the heart that where we rejoice in nearness to Allah, and that it is that which is in reality obedient to Allah the Exalted. And the acts of devotion that are manifest in the members of the body are but its light. It is also that which is disobedient and rebellious against Allah the Exalted in reality. And the acts of turpitude that course through the members are but its effects. But it's by its darkness and its light there appear the good and evil qualities of its external appearance, since every vessel drips that which it contains. The heart is that which, if a man knows it, he knows himself. And if he knows himself, he knows his Lord. It is that which, if a man knows it not, he knows not himself. And if he knows not himself, he knows not his Lord. He who knows not his own heart is still more ignorant of everything else. Since the majority of mankind know not their own hearts and their own selves, for intervention has been made between them and their own selves. His intervention consists in preventing man from observing his heart, in watching over it, in becoming acquainted with its qualities, in perceiving how it is turned, and how at one time it lusts for the lowest of the low, and it is brought down to the plane of the demons, and at another time it mounts up to the highest of the high, and advances to the world of the angels who are drawn near to Allah. He who knows not his heart, to watch over it and be mindful of it, and to observe what shines on it and in it, of the treasures of the world of the Malakut. He is one of those whom Allah the Exalted has said, those who forget God, Nasullah, فَأَنْسَاهُمْ أَنفُسَهُمْ, and He made them to forget their own souls, أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْفَاسِقُونَ. Such are the rebellious transgressors. Thus the knowledge of the heart and of the real nature of its qualities is the root of religion and the foundation of the one who's drawing near to Allah his particular way. In this blessed quote, we have everything that it is that you and I need. Gatherings like this, approaches like this that we learn and take from living chains that have an unbroken transmission back to the Prophet ﷺ. It's in gatherings like these, it's in gatherings in which that we learn and recite the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that we learn and attempt to implement the sunnah of our Prophet ﷺ. This is at the very essence and core of what not only you and I need in this particular junction of history, but this is the way of the prophets. And this is the way of our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, just as it was the way of the prophets who came before him. And this was the way of the great scholars of his ummah who came in that succession from his time ﷺ until this time in which we live. And we can gloss over this and act like this is something, okay, that I've heard that before, or that they just keep talking about the same thing, that it's all about the heart, because it actually really is all about the heart. And once we recognize that, there should be a shift, not only in terms of the way that we think, but in terms of what it is that we do. How do we choose to live our lives? Knowing this reality, what do we let into our heart? Through our eyes, through our ears? What do we let affect our heart from our other limbs? How important do we place the science of the heart in becoming acquainted with the qualities of the heart, the vices of the heart, the virtues of the heart, the various states of the heart? This is our quest, day in and day out. This is why we come together in a place like this. This is why we attend gatherings. This is why we attend that gatherings of knowledge, gatherings of remembrance. This is why we perform all of the different acts of obedience that we do. It's so that ultimately that our heart can return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being in a good state, and ultimately do all of this for the hereafter. But insofar as we work sincerely for the hereafter, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not only rectify us, He will rectify everyone else and everything around us if our hearts become rectified. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us this realization. It seems simple, but it's far from being simplistic. May we be granted this realization, and may we come to truly understand this and to truly live these realities, so that we can learn to seek the barakah of our time, so that we can connect to our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and so that we can live in a way that is pleasing to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah give us tawfiq, Ya Arhamar Rahimeen. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin.